Hey there. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before we get started, I have a quick favor to ask you. Please take a second and think about your pain. Could be pain from a year ago that's still lingering, could be future pain that you believe is inevitable, or it could be the pain that someone close to you is currently struggling with. Now, wherever it is, I want you to take your finger and point to it. Yes. Even if you're here on behalf of someone else, I want you to take your finger and point to the source of the pain that is currently bothering you the most. Now, this very second, there are thousands of people around the world watching this broadcast, pointing to their greatest and, quite frankly, strangest pain. So please know that you're not alone in this. I'm here with you. Here, this is the source of my pain, my shoulder, multiple surgeries. Not only do I know what you're going through, but I too am seeking answers for myself. So here's my big promise to you. By the end of this series, I'm going to do whatever it takes to help you get relief on exactly where you're pointing to. I'm confident the experts you'll learn from, plus the incredible information they will reveal, will give you the solutions like you've never seen before. All I ask in return is that you stick with me to the very end. This series will change how you perceive and address pain, and I wouldn't want you to miss a single moment. To show you what I mean, I'm so excited to get into our first episode. And what better way to kickstart your healing journey than to dive into deep inflammation? As you know, it's a natural process in the body, and we all experience it from one degree to another. And yet when it runs out of control, it becomes the most detrimental factors for your overall health. You hear a lot about fighting inflammation, like it's a foreign invader. But do you actually know what inflammation is? Do you know what purpose it serves in your body? I am so excited for you listening on my interview with Dr. Vivian Chen, Dr. Tom O'Brien, and Dr. Isaac Elias, as well as some of the leading innovators in treating inflammation, so you can learn how this essential immune response actually works, and to find out why so many people are experiencing unhealthy inflammatory responses, so you can stop debilitating pain before it even starts. All right, well, Dr. Viv, thank you so much for agreeing to do this and be here today. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Can you give us a sense of your background? Like, what's your origin story? How did you come to do what you do?
Yeah, so I'm conventionally trained MD. I went to medical school in the UK, board certified in internal medicine and family practice. So I did a lot of family practice, internal medicine. The bulk of my work was actually looking after patients with chronic pain. And the more I practiced, the more I got frustrated with the tools I had in my toolbox, because I just had pills to give them.
Sure.
So patient would come to me, and we had this what's known as the pain ladder. So you put them on rung number 1, that's Tylenol. In the UK, we'll call it paracetamol.
Sure.
And then if that wasn't enough, you added in a non-steroidal. So that would be something like Nurofen, Motrin.
Right.
And then if that wasn't enough, you step up to the narcotic, the opioid type.
Sure.
With the weaker one first, and then stronger and stronger. And they'd come back needing more and more over time. So, start them on 1 pill and then end up with like 10 pills, because
amazing.
These pills cause side effects, which I then had to treat. And then I just got so frustrated that I felt like I wasn't truly helping my patients, because yes, they had, I'm not saying medications are not necessary. They're necessary for acute symptom control, but I wanted to get to the root of what was causing the pain so that hopefully we can get them off those medications eventually. So I have my own personal story that led me into holistic health. My daughter, when she was just 8 weeks old, had to be hospitalized. So she completely stopped feeding. Nobody could figure out why, including me. So at that point, I had my board certification in internal medicine, family practice, very well-trained MD. And there was the one person I wanted to help the most in the world, I could not help. And neither could her entire team of pediatric specialists. And they even told me she had a behavioral problem because she stopped feeding. So I had to do my own research, and I found a scientific paper from 1983 describing her symptoms, and it was attributed to cow's milk protein allergy. So it's a rare form of allergy. So basically, she was getting dairy proteins and through my breast milk, and that was causing inflammation in her gullet. So every time she fed, she was in pain. She arched back and stopped feeding. So after I presented this paper to her pediatric team, we switched her milk, and she got better after a week.
Wow.
So that was the moment I realized I did not learn everything I needed to know to help my patients. I didn't learn everything I needed to know at medical school. I learned diseases. I learned pills and procedures to treat those diseases. But what I really lacked was how to prevent diseases happening in the first place, and how to really get to the root of the problem so that patients didn't come back to me anymore. That's the reason why I went into holistic health, because I realized that there was all these modalities I didn't realize and learn at medical school that could be helping people. I was able to help my own daughter, and I wanted to go out and help more people.
Of the top 15 causes of death in the world today, according to NIH, this is very current, 14 of 15 are chronic inflammatory diseases.
Amazing.
It doesn't matter if it's Alzheimer's or it doesn't matter. It's a chronic inflammatory disease, which means it's going on for a long time before you ever know there's a problem. It's chronic.
Right.
So this inflammation is going on. So as a component of what we have to deal with any chronic condition we have is, where is the inflammation coming from?
Right.
Now, you can take pills to try and feel better, and sometimes they help, and if you've got high blood pressure, you better take the medication. Don't be silly.
Sure.
But you also have to identify, where is the high blood pressure coming from?
Right.
And then you call your doctor who prescribed the medication, said, look, I'm looking to see where this high blood pressure came from. I'm changing my diet. I'm starting to exercise. Would you monitor me, please, to make sure that my medication is not too high? Because I'm told as I get healthier, I'm going to need less medication. If I don't have that, then the problem is I might get dizzy and I might pass out.
Right.
And every doctor will say, yes, of course, to that. And if they don't, you find a new doctor.
Sure,
right?
Sure. Absolutely. One of the things in reading your profile that caught my interest was this idea of mystery pain, this mystery pain idea. But before we hop on that, would you talk to me about where pain comes from? What's the source of pain? Why do we experience pain in our lives?
Pain, unless it's a trauma, a recognizable trauma, pain that develops over time is always, let me say that differently, it's always a chronic inflammatory condition. And you may not realize that the food you're eating is fueling the fire. Mrs. Patient, if you pull at a chain, it always breaks at the weakest link.
Sure.
It's at one end, the middle, the other end, it's your heart, your brain, your liver, your joints. Wherever your genetic weak link is, that's where the chain's going to break.
Sure.
And the pull on the chain is inflammation. So if you have chronic pain that's unexplainable, you don't know, you didn't fall down and hit your elbow on the ground, but you've got elbow pain or you've got joint pains and you don't know why, the first place you always have to look, where is the inflammation coming from?
Right.
Critical component to address chronic mysterious pain. And of course, it can be chemical, it can be neurological. All of the guests on this event that you're hosting will share their expertise on when they see certain patients. Here's some clues that it might be a chemical pain, or chiropractors talk about mechanical pains, but it's always inflammation. So taking a big picture look of where is the inflammation coming from will always serve you when your body is not functioning the way you want it to.
What is hidden inflammation? What is that?
So we think about inflammation as something visible, like when I twisted my ankle in jazzercise class and my
swells
ankle
up and
blew
you could
up,
see
right?
it.
And you could see it, and I couldn't fit it in a shoe. It was very obvious it was inflamed. But hidden inflammation is actually deep inside our bodies, and we may not even recognize or realize that it's there, but it is affecting us in the form of symptoms. So inflammation in the head might be migraines or headaches or brain fog or memory issues. Inflammation in the sinuses might be chronic runny or stuffy noses or sinus infections. Inflammation in the chest might be asthma or high blood pressure or heart problems. Inflammation in the gut might be acid reflux. It might be cramping when you eat. It might be excessive gas or bloating. Inflammation in the bowels might be constipation or diarrhea, or both if you alternate between them.
Sure.
And then inflammation in our joints, we might call it fibromyalgia or arthritis. And really anything that ends in itis, that's doctor speak for inflamed.
Got it. And the traditional approach, if you have this symptom that ends with an IS, is typically what? Pharmaceuticals, or in some cases maybe surgery, but that's a typical approach to this type of hidden inflammation. Is that correct?
It is. So Western doctors would like to just suppress the inflammation. That could be steroids is a very common way to suppress the inflammation. Or they might want to mask it with pain relievers, which shut things down. But really, even for the inflammation in multiple sclerosis, which is an inflammatory condition, all autoimmune conditions are inflammatory. The traditional treatments look to really shut the immune system down. Let's just not let the immune system start the inflammation to begin with, and that way we won't have that inflammation, except for then you leave that person really vulnerable.
Talk to me about inflammation and pain. It's something that I suffer with almost on a daily basis.
Yeah, so I hate to hear that. Breaks my heart every time I hear that, because, 22 years, that's what I focus on. People don't have that, and I don't, but I hear it and I understand it. It's the most draining thing you can imagine.
Yeah, it's like your dark traveler just right over your shoulder.
It is.
That's always there with you.
Yeah. So inflammation, you want to turn that inflammation off any way you can do that, and it's multiple ways. It's more than one way. For these individuals, deep restorative sleep, or anybody that has chronic pain, if you're struggling with sleep, again, your inflammatory chemicals are going to be raised by 40%. If you're eating a diet that's fueling what inflammation you already have, you're going to make it worse. If you're, if you're not exercising, if you're sedentary, which sometimes you don't have a choice. When you're in chronic pain, you can't. These folks really can't oftentimes. But you're missing out on the opportunity to create those endorphins and enkephalins, those natural opioids, when you exercise. So there's different,